Hi, I'm Danny with Northwest Spiritual Living,
I'm Sherry Hoffman with the North Seattle Spiritual Sangha.
and we're here today speaking with.
Susanna Marie. Thanks for having me.
Our pleasure.
Happy to be here.
So, I think it is my turn again here. This one's interesting to me. I've heard people, including your own colleagues, talk about the special energetic transmission that they get that's emanating from your being. And I've definitely experienced that for myself. The first couple minutes, I'm meeting you, and I'm just, and then I'm just mesmerized, and then I'm just blasted by this. Actually, no, that was sitting in satsang with you after. The very first moment, I walked through a room, and the second I walked through this kitchen, Sylvia's kitchen, I was hit with this wall of energy. And I didn't know you. I didn't know who you were talking to. But the second you turned around to see who had entered the room, maybe whatever, I knew you were Susanna Marie. I didn't know who everybody was, but I knew you were Susanna Marie. So I find your energy transmission buoyant, filling. It just fills me, and it's very powerful. But so, how do you experience that? Or, have you heard that, number one, from others about you, and how do you experience it?
Well, it's hard to experience oneself. Give it a try. Try to experience yourself. Well, I can sense when energy is being focused inside and when it's coming out as a transmission. I can actually sense it, but I'm not always cognizant of it because attention's placed in different areas at different times. It can be with a person, right? Or just on general being or the light coming through the room. So attention goes where it goes. But I can sense during satsang or when I work with someone, it's almost like the invitation that's coming from others, right? Because this co-arising of an invitation, it creates it. I think that it generates a response from life, because life is really desiring to give to itself. It's generous in that way. And I think that's what satsang really is life giving to itself and supporting the reminder in one another of what we really are. And so I think that the loving attention that comes from others and the loving desire, the desire to be reminded of what we are and to share in the space of remembering creates this co-arising from here. I'm guessing, which isn't me because there's no me. That responds and wants to love. It just wants to love. And so however emptied out, whatever has been emptied out here to whatever degree, that's that's the place from which this love can emanate from. And so, you're okay?
Yeah, just had to tickle going.
I know that feeling. And so it arises and it comes through the different centers. Like if it comes through the heart, I can feel when it comes through the heart. And then it's like this almost like rose colored essence comes through. And I can feel this the yummy almost syrupy quality to it. Like we can all sort of float in this, the rose together. I can feel the transmission when it's coming more through clarity of mind. And it's like, it creates this like spaciousness, like everybody can just relax into not the unknown, not being anything. We can just rest in the space in between thoughts together, not being anything. Right? I can feel when the transmission of an undefended body is being modeled. Like we can rest in an undefended way together. We don't have to protect ourselves. The body itself, the transmission of it's safe. You know, like the animal instinct nature can relax. I can feel that when that's coming up. But it's not like I'm always paying attention, but I can feel it. It's nice that others can feel it too. It's nice. It's nice when we can share in that because, you know, we're really one body. Why can we feel it? It's because we're one body.
Beautiful.
I love what you said about being undefended. That's one of my favorite books is called Undefended Love. So,
I have that book too.
yeah.
What's that? You faded out. You love what?
The book Undefended Love.
Oh.
What you said about being undefended. And that's really what's so beautiful about the Sangha is a place we can be undefended.
Yeah, where tears can come and laughter can come and just joy can come and have it all be welcomed. Have the space be the space of invitation. I like to bring permission for all of us for the space of invitation. You know, like Rumi says that this is a guest house where everything's welcomed. You know, because I've done that for myself, and that's what I mean. That's what we share is what we know for ourselves, right?
I like what you were saying about the rose-colored energy because I don't see auras, but I can definitely feel that. I'm Reiki attuned. I do Reiki practice.
Yeah.
And part of that that's developing through me is this sense of color with people. Yours feels rose-colored to me. So it was real interesting that you...
Yeah. You are so sensitive.
Probably not a coincidence either.
Yeah, and I felt the very first time I met you, you really do create a very safe and open place for people just to be themselves. So you're succeeding in that.
Thank you so much. Thanks for saying that, both of you. Yeah, it's nice to have reflection. That's how we know one another. That's how we know ourselves is through reflection.
So my next question is, you know, when did you kind of feel like, a defining moment of like, I'm going to do this. Like, I'm going to go out and be a spiritual teacher or share my message or my heart. What if you can share what a defining moment is in your spiritual path?
Okay, yeah, those are good questions, huh? So I had, I think that realizations we have so many defining moments of realization in our life where we open and it leads to something else and then another defining moment of like where it's obvious something's changed here, you know. We usually know it through self-reflection. Like we look back and say we're doing things differently now. And so I think that there's so many defining moments of my changing. Well, I had taught yoga and meditation in my early 20s. I studied, did a year-long teacher training in yoga, and I was a heavy-duty meditator, hours a day. And so I did teach early on. And then I became a parent. I didn't teach anymore in that way. I worked in a Waldorf school, so I was working with little children, kindergartners. So I was still in some way in a kind of teaching mode, you know, in a different way. So maybe teaching is just, just something that is part of me. I never really thought about it actually, but I guess it is. So then when the 16 years ago or so, when the big different defining moments of realization came in, big falling away and cracking open, and like the emptiness came in, and then unity consciousness came in. I didn't feel to teach it, and I just really wanted to sit and let it stew in me. Let it really sit and do its what I call the embodiment process for about 8 years. And I really feel that it's a healthy thing, a valuable thing to sit with realization and realizations, and really let them empty you out and clean you out. If you are going to teach, before you teach, I think it's. I think in Zen they say, wait 10 years, but whatever. I'm not giving a guideline here, or feel like anyone should follow that guideline. But for me personally, there was great value in waiting. But I did lead some awakening groups during that time. I didn't charge. It was more like an offering to the community. And so I was getting my need met to share through holding space once a week in my living room. And I also learned how to facilitate during that time. So I spent about 5 years facilitating these really organic, lovely groups, and through my community, and learned a lot about facilitating, a lot about what works, what doesn't work, and also to share in participation with others. And then I started to feel this movement of something changing inside, and I didn't have a teacher necessarily to turn to and say, who would give me permission to teach. How like I wasn't in a lineage. I've been outside of lineages, which is nice. In one hand, it's more free in a certain way, but it's also puts a lot of pressure on a person who would like to maybe come out, because it's like, how do you know when you're ready? And you don't have something to fall back on and say, so-and-so, my lineage, or so-and-so gave me permission to teach. You can't lean on anything when you don't have a lineage. So I knew I needed the invitation come from somewhere. I wasn't willing to just right away go, I'm going to be a teacher. Besides which, it's not the easiest thing to come out and do. So, but for me, my whole life has been about being authentic. And so I needed it to come from an authentic place. I couldn't manufacture it. I couldn't have it come, because so much ego had fallen away. Where is it going to come from? So I really sat for almost 2 years waiting for the inner invitation to arise. For invitation to arise here, because I wasn't getting it outside. So one day it did arise, and what I realized, just like with anything that I've realized, is that life is what invites. Yeah, maybe a teacher can invite you, but in the end, what is the real invitation? It's life itself inviting itself to do something. And so I guess it was just like it had stayed in abeyance for a while, and then finally this movement of knowing, this self-knowing arose. Yeah. And then I asked Amma. I went to see Amma. I've been seeing Amma since I was like 26. And maybe 25. So a long time. And I asked her, I asked her for her permission, her blessing. And she looked at me very, very deeply and very intensely. And she, I think what she was doing, because my main prayer, I know we're going over here for a moment, but I think it's valuable here. my main prayer was to be non-harming. I knew that if I were to teach, that I would be making mistakes, of course, along the way, as we all do, and learning. But I wanted across the board to be non-harming. So I saw her really look deeply into me to see if it would be good for others, if it would be good for me and my developing soul, my evolutionary being, myself. And this prayer I have of being non-harming. And she gave me her blessing. It was beautiful. And within 10 days, Rick Archer, who I was not connected with at all, I had only seen maybe one back gap, Buddha at the gas pump. He wrote me within 10 days. And he said, I just came back from seeing Amma. And I came back a day early because he just came back a day early. And he said, and I hadn't scheduled anyone to do an interview in 4 days' time. And I have 300 people on my wait list to be interviewed, but a few people have recommended you to me. And for some reason, you're just popping into my consciousness for me to interview.
Hmm.
It was like so green. I had never even done a Skype.
That's awesome.
You can tell from my first interview how green I am, but it's lovely because there's an innocence there too. But that's how it happened, is grace came. And Rick is connected to Amma, and I'm connected to Amma. And grace came and said, here, start doing this. And it's been that way ever since.
Wow, beautiful.
Definitely a defining moment.
Yeah.
Sure. Wow, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, my pleasure.
All right. Well, I think we'll take another short break and then we'll come right back.
Mm.
Thank you, Susanna.
Yeah.